Guys, what if I were to tell you you could buy a Volvo that will embarrass a Mustang at the stoplight, a Porsche 911 at the stoplight, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, 422 horsepower, 400 pound-foot of torque. The fastest production Volvo ever. All right, quickest production Volvo ever. And it only will cost you $48,000. Well, you can buy that car, and here it is. Yes, it's very yellow. This is the fastest, quickest production Volvo ever. And of course, it's all electric. It's the new EX30 dual motor performance Ultra. Now, this car was supposed to be at one point the budget entry car for Volvo, but because of tariffs and everything else that's happening in the world, they've kind of halted the import of the budget one and have just bought in the top dog Volvo, hopefully allowing them to be able to sell it at just under $50,000. So let's talk about this car. Let's show you the interior because it's very minimalist. I'll show you what I love. I'll show you what I hate because there are some things that I really hate. But I think we should start with the fact that this is very yellow. Volvo says that they were inspired by the color of lichen, in other words, moss, on Swedish granite. And that's where this very, very yellow color came from. I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of interestingly colored cars, and this is about as interesting as it gets. I mean, we live in a world of white, black, and gray vehicles, and when you have something like this, then all of a sudden you've got something interesting. You also have the Thor's hammer headlight, which is good and interesting. You have a full 360-degree camera, which is hiding right there, and then you have a frunk. Let me show you that because you will be surprised by just how much room there is in the front. Oh, I forgot to show you this. One thing you don't have is a key. You get this black fob, no buttons, just a fob. And the way it works is you just walk up to the car and you open the door and it unlocks. There's no power button. When you walk away from it and wait a second, the car will lock itself. And I was talking to Cole, my videographer, about this, and he said that he would have to wait for the car to lock before leaving. And I'm kind of with him because I'm very OCD. But there you have it unlocking on its own. And then to get into the front, you do the double pull a la BMW. And under here, you have a very big car cover. And then you have this little tiny sandwich holder and a moose. I like the moose. This is kind of a nice little Swedish display of, well, their culture, or maybe it's an Easter egg. There's the little car, there's the moose, there are the clouds, there's the forest. I kind of like it. It's pretty cool, actually. I just found that out. And then over here you have where basically you check your fluids. Over here is windshield wiper fluid, and that's about it. The great thing about electric cars is, of course, there aren't that many moving parts. So there's no oil, there's no gas, there's no diesel, there is no mess. Now, this is a tiny car, and the reason it is so quick is because it's also very light. It weighs just over 4,100 pounds, and that's how you get a car that's a dual motor, in other words, all-wheel drive, to go from 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. As an electric car, it's actually not bad. It's got a range of about 253 miles, and of course, it does have fast charging right here. Charges up to 153 kilowatts, which is okay. Volvo says like 10 to 80% in over 25 minutes or so, which is pretty standard stuff. I'd love to see, a little bit faster charging times, but this is kind of where we're at right now. Now, as you guys probably know, Volvo is owned by a company called Geely, which is a Chinese company, and this is a rebranded Chinese car as a Volvo EX30, which isn't bad. The Chinese have now, I think, shown that they are market leaders in EVs, and so to have a Volvo that takes advantage of some of the best of the electrified world, I think is a good thing. You do have a small little cubby back here for maybe a couple roller bags, and under here is your level 2 charger or your level 1 charger. It's not huge, but for Europe, this would be an ideal city car. I'm not sure it works that well here because we love our big American cars, But if you live someplace very urban like New York or San Francisco, I think this would be really fun and darty to drive around. Let's look at the back seat, and I think this is where it's going to get a little tight. Now keep in mind, I did just review the cross-country version of this winter in Sweden, and that car is also coming to America, and that's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit more off-roady, but it's not bad, you know, given the fact that this is such a small car. In fact, the smallest car that Volvo makes, I believe. At 6'2", I have plenty of headroom. I don't have huge legroom, but then I'm sitting behind myself. I do have this giant panoramic sunroof, which is great for making it feel airy. I love the cloth seats. I think this is a wool blend. Of course, you got your little, well, on this one, you've got your little Swedish flag. Here, I'll take the camera, I'll show them. I always love that little feature, that little Swedish flag. And I love kind of the yellow accent color. Here you have your window controls. Keep in mind, because this car does have a lack of window controls, a little bit of a cubby space right here. I guess that little cubby space comes out. But look, once again, another Easter egg. We're just finding them together, I guess, aren't we? And the seats are actually very comfortable in kind of a very Volvo-like way. I think Volvo builds some of the best seats in the market. So let's jump in the front and talk about the things that I don't like, because there are a number of things I don't like about this car. And a lot of them have to do with how it operates. So, as you know, Volvo is very environmentally friendly. So this, along with this, that is made from recycled plastic bottles. The wool seats, of course, are nice. You can also get a vegan leather version. And then there's no power button, nothing to start. All you get is this 12.3-inch screen, so everything is in there. Takes a little bit of getting used to. If you're wondering what this is a camera that looks for your eyes to make sure that you're paying attention to the road, or that you're, paying attention when you're using the lane keep, level 2 autonomy. Now, this is where the rub comes in. Let me show you. I hit the car icon and I just turn these off, but these actually default. The driver assist and the lane keep defaults. And that is a little annoying, because I like to have these off because they are very intrusive. I was driving it for the first time, probably like 5 miles, and this little driver alert came on half a dozen times in that 5 miles because I was trying to figure out the interior. So don't love that. Don't love the one screen. This is very similar to an Ineos Grenadier, where there's actually trouble lights here in the Ineos, but I'd like to have something like the speed limit here. In fact, all that lives up here, which isn't grand. Like I said, you have about 250 miles of range. We've got 193 left with 77% of the battery. Here's another thing I don't love. Apparently, they ran out of window switches in Gothenburg, because you only have two a la the Volkswagen ID4, and if you want to use the rear, you have to press this rear button. It's kind of not very intuitive. I do like the buttons. They do feel very high quality. And speaking of high quality, probably the nicest thing in this entire car is this handle. It's actually made of real aluminum, along with this little accent strip, and it feels very satisfying when you open it up. Just a really nice, satisfying click to it. That's all of the stuff that I really love. What I don't love is that they've definitely taken a page out of Tesla's minimalist design / switch book. And so if you want to control the volume of the radio, where? It's right there. You've got to go right there. That's your volume up and down. These are multi-function controls, just like the Tesla. If you want to change the position of your rearview mirrors, you got to use these controls. It's just way too much stuff in way too few buttons, and it's pretty hard to get kind of a grasp on everything this car can do. Now let's go home here. So you do have Google-based Android Auto, which works really well. Of course, CarPlay as well. Nice thing are these cameras. Here's something kind of cool. Let me show you. This 360-degree camera. You can switch through these, and then when you go to the 360, where's my 360? Is it this one? Maybe it's in there somewhere. No. Oh, it also tows 2,000 pounds, by the way. So let's go back. Let's go back to cameras. Where are they? I just lost my camera. See, this is what I mean. It can get very confusing very quickly. But you do have this 360-degree camera that you can move around to see what is around you, which is nice. Maybe it's. Thank you, Cole. There you go. This is my my much younger videographer who has a much younger and much more nimble brain. I'm always impressed when they actually match the color of the car to the color of the car that you're driving, and we are definitely not driving a gray car. But that's nice. I mean, it gives you a really good sense, and it's very quick to operate. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. Nice. You do get heated seats, which are controlled through here. You don't get vented seats, which is a shame. You do get a heated steering wheel. And then, of course, you've got a lot of built-in, go back here, you got a lot of built-in apps like Play Store, Apple CarPlay, of course, YouTube, Google Assistant, Google Maps, and any other Android Auto apps that you can get from the App Store, which is nice as well. Like I said, my only issue with all this is that there's just way too much stuff that's hidden in the screen. And even though Volvo has gotten much better at making this more intuitive, it still takes maybe too much of my brain power to actually figure out where everything is very quickly. If you're wondering where the cup holders are, they're hidden right there. Let me show you again. So once again, voila. And then if you don't need cup holders, that's kind of clever. You can move that and then have a little bit of storage space right there. You get the little cup holder icon. And then over here you have wireless charging. And if you need more space or USB-C charging, the little ports are hidden right there. This feels like they have spent a lot of time studying Tesla. It's very Tesla-esque in a lot of ways. So for instance, if you want to open the glove box, you have to go into the car menu, push the glove box, and that's where your glove box lives. I suppose, this is a typical journalist excuse, but I suppose once you learn all this, it will become second nature. But for me, it's taken quite a while to kind of change my way of thinking so that this becomes intuitive. You also have different ambience that you can set for the car, interior lighting. This being Sweden, of course, it's very nature focused. So there's your forest bath. There's your archipelago for all of you who love island life. This is your midsummer. Look at that. Here we have your Nordic twilight. And a lot of that you can't see, obviously, because it's not dark outside. And there you have the northern lights. Cole, what do we go with? Let's go with, I like this. No, I'm going to go with midsummer. Yeah, I think midsummer, this is where we're at, midsummer. So how does this little car drive? Well, let's find out. The thing that, I love about electric cars is one pedal driving, which this has, and instant acceleration, which this has in bucket loads. I'd love to take this to a racetrack. I think I read the car and driver said it'll do a quarter mile in around, I want to say 12 seconds. And that's not because it's actually that slow, because you'd figure from 0 to 60 in 3.3, it would be much quicker in a quarter mile. I think it's electronically limited to 114, I want to say. And if I got that wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. But basically, you hit 114 before you hit the end of the quarter mile, and that's why the quarter mile is a little bit slower than you might expect. Okay, here's the fun part. You ready, Cole? Here we go. I'm just going to give it the beans. Oh yeah, tunnel vision. And that is way too fast. I mean, if you love agile, darty, nimble, think of the adjective of your dreams. This is a car. I mean, it's tiny, it's quick, and it's yellow. What more can you want? I remember when the Honda Fit first came out, the first generation of the Fit, it was very similar to this. It had a lot of useful space, one of those cars that's bigger on the inside than on the outside, and it was very fun to drive, very interesting handling. By the way, you can change the handling dynamics. I kind of like the firm setting for the steering because it's the most sports car-like. Overall, I have to say, at $35,000, this would be one hell of a bargain. Of course, it wouldn't have the Performance Ultra dual motor version of it. It wouldn't have 422 horsepower, but still, it would be one heck of a fun car. And I hope that Volvo brings that version in. They haven't said they're not going to do it, but they haven't said they are going to do it. But for now, all you get is the spicy one, and that's not a bad thing, except that the average car price now is right around $48,000, and what you're getting is a very teeny tiny car that will compete with cars like the upcoming Bolt, which is going to be a lot cheaper for basically the price of the average new car. And that is going to be, I fear, a hard sell in many places in America. And as always with electric cars, this might be the car to get when it comes off lease. I'm just saying, that's been the typical trajectory of electric car depreciation. Anyway, I've had a really good time. I like this car a lot. Would I get the cross-country version when it comes out? It's going to be even more expensive. I don't think so. I think I'd get this one. I'd get the sporty one, get the spicy one, and just, have a little bit of Swedish spice in my daily life, even in this beautiful, I'm going to call it beautiful, Swedish moss yellow. As always, this is Roman saying head on over to alltfl.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews, and I shall see you next time. Ciao.